Some information in this video which I know can massively help you with your iron clubs, being more consistent and ultimately getting closer to the hole for lower scores. And it's kind of a little exercise or drill that I call Don't Cross the Line. And we're going to be using a slightly different camera angle, this kind of behind view, because we're going to be looking at something to do with my trail arm and something to do with a reference point on my body. And we're going to talk about the relationship between the club, the arms and the body. So let me take an address, and we're going to be looking at my trail elbow, so this kind of point here, and almost the side of my body. So many of you will have a seam on a t-shirt or a jumper that you're wearing. So imagine a seam that goes from underneath your arm down towards your hip. Now, when I take an address, and I've got myself a 7-iron here, when we look from this behind view, when I get to the top of my golf swing, we do not want this elbow to cross that line. So you can see how, hopefully you can see how my elbow is not crossing that line. What we wouldn't want to see from that behind view is this elbow getting far too deep, like you can see here, because that has crossed that line. So it's when we're looking from this view, where is that elbow relative to the side of your body? Now you might have to obviously set up a camera or get somebody to film you, but do this with one of your mid to short irons, have a look at it and see what it's like. Let me go ahead and hit one, and I'll show you from that behind camera view, and then we'll go through exactly why that's important, so a couple of little drills to help you. So hopefully you can see there the elbow is in a good position. Do that and you're going to be a lot more consistent. So now we need to go through kind of how you do that and what you need to have in your golf swing to make sure you don't cross that line. So we really need to understand what the arms are doing relative to the body in order for us to improve this. The best golfers have a great relationship between what the body does and what the arms do. Poorer golfers often don't have that relationship. Now, if you've ever heard anybody say to you, take the hands or take the arms out of the golf swing, it's a myth. It just can't happen. I've heard it, and it's something that people do coach, but it just doesn't happen. So here's a little exercise, and this is really going to show us what the arms do in the backswing. So how we move the arms relative to the body. So in order to do this, I want you to think about if I took a setup and stood out in front of me, this would be my starting point here. So you can see how the club is in front of me, my hands are in front of me. This would be my starting point. Now from here, if I made a backswing, and this is the backswing that I want, if I took the rotation out and stood up, this is where my arms are. Okay, look how different that is to where they started. They started here and they ended up here. This is what my arms are doing in the backswing. They're moving up and they're moving across my chest. Okay, let me show that again. This is my starting point. We can take almost a snapshot of this. Make a backswing. We turn back, take a rotation out, stand up. There's my position. Okay. Now, when I go from my starting position to this position, have a look at where my right elbow is. Doesn't really move a huge amount, does it? My arms are lifting and moving sort of up over my trail shoulder, but my trail elbow is staying what I call in front of me. It's never moving in line with my chest. Now watch what happens if I take that same sort of backswing move that we said was poor, where my elbow gets far too deep and behind me. So let me do that backswing. There's my elbow far too deep. Take the rotation out, stand up, and you can see how that's very, very different. Look where my elbow is relative to where it started. Remember, it started down here. So if you're an inconsistent iron player, that could be down to strike, it could be down to distance control, direction, or just all of the below, there's a very good chance that in your backswing, the relationship between your elbow and your chest is changing too much. Okay? My relationship between my elbow and my chest, as we've said here, wouldn't change a huge amount. There'll be a little bit of a difference, but not a huge amount. The more that that elbow gets behind me and away from its starting point, the harder it's going to be For me to get into an impact position that I want, you're going to find the elbow gets separated from the side. You're going to get the left arm across the chest for too long in the downswing. You're going to start to slow the body down so the arms can catch up. You're going to get very flippy. It's going to be very, very difficult for you to play well. So the first exercise I'd love you to do is this one. You're going to take a setup, you're going to raise up, and you're going to try and keep your elbow in front of you as you move your hands in this sort of direction. So if I was looking at a clock face from my point of view, 12, 1, sort of 2 o'clock, I'm going to move my hands up towards 2 o'clock and add some flex in the arm as I'm doing that. Notice how the elbow is staying in front of me. It's never going to my side. Once I've done that little movement, then I can add some rotation, tip over the golf ball, and suddenly I'm in a really nice strong position at the top where I've got good rotation, I've got good arm movement around that rotation, but I've got connection. That's so, so important. We need the body and the arms to be working together. We need them to be almost be talking to each other and know where each other is in space. What we do not want is to have far too much arm movement, and then we get this really deep position where my elbow's too far behind. We start the downswing, everything just looks out of sync. So this will take a bit of practice. It will feel a little bit strange, but there's nothing to stop you hitting a few balls that way. So I'm going to go set up, stand up, hands go to 2 o'clock. I feel what that's like. My elbow's in front of me. I add some rotation. I tip over the ball, and then we can go ahead and half shank it off to the right, okay? It doesn't matter what the strike is like at that stage. It's just trying to build an idea of where you are at the top of the backswing. And that's actually a really important note, that these drills that we do, that you will do, you know, the goal is not to hit perfect shots. The goal is to have those eureka moments. The goal is to make that little move and go, ah, that's where I should be. That's what it should feel like. And then you have to analyze how that's different to what you currently feel. So you're starting to use these drills to create your own feels, to understand these movements better, so that ultimately you're on the golf course and you're trying to hit a shot into a green, you know what you should be searching for because you've experienced that position in practice. So really important that we understand how the arms work relative to your body. Do not cross that line. As soon as you start crossing that line, bad things are going to happen. So I'm going to have one more go at that drill because I don't think that did it justice. Here, hands go there, that's my perfect position. Add some rotation, add some tip over. And whilst I said strike wasn't the most important thing, I'm obviously going to be much, much happy with that one. So this, trust me, will improve your irons. Your shorter irons are going to be more dialed in, your strike's going to be better, you're going to have more consistency, your golf swing is going to feel a lot more repeatable, and it's all because of where your arms are relative to your body.